We had to make decisions for our life. Anyone can make it out of any environment. I don't care where. You could be growing up if mom and dad are wealthy, they're taking care of you. You can end up on Skid Row in Los Angeles because of the decisions you made. And so if you're watching this video right now, you're saying, man, Chris, I'm somebody who's from the hood. Chris, I'm watching this video, man, I'm from Compton, man. I'm from Long Beach. I'm from New Orleans, man. Fifth Ward. I'm from the streets of Dade County, Miami. I'm from a tough community. You have the option to make choices.
Sold out service, and you know we've been working. We serving, we earning. The watches, it's hurting. Big heart, but it started with Chris. Seen a lot when it comes to this biz. Don't serve, don't earn. They gotta shift keys to be a capitalist.
I recently got back from California. I was in Culver City this past weekend, hanging out with my guy George Palayo, and we're having a good time. And we did some workshops and some trainings for his team out there for his agency. And I had an opportunity to go visit my old hood, Compton, California. You know, so we went out to Compton Sunday afternoon and started driving around and seeing the old neighborhood, man. 1104 South Fuller Street, man, and hanging out there. That's my old address, right? And as I'm driving through my old neighborhood, going to my old middle school, the elementary school, the park I used to play at, I can't help but think back to how far we've come, where we've been, where we're at right now. My wife and I, my kids, my family. I mean, I'm on the East Coast now, living in the DMV area, DC, Maryland, Virginia area, outside of Silver Spring. And I thought, man, like, I've come a long way. And it's crazy because every time I tell somebody where I'm originally from, where are you from? I'm from LA, I'm from California. What part of Cali are you from? I'm from Compton, California. Oh, people think Compton, man, NWA, just like, okay, straight hood, man, shoot 'em up, Crips and Bloods. Like, yeah, that's Compton, but I think there's so many misconceptions of growing up in the hood. One of the first ones I've seen that people assume, like, if you grew up in the hood, there's a high likelihood you were raised by a single mom, right? Single mom, story of my life, right? Hey, I grew up in the hood, brown, black, and I grew up with a single mom, dad wasn't around. That wasn't my case at all, man. I grew up with two dads, right? So maybe I'm different, right? But I grew up with two dads. But I know a lot of people who had dads in their lives that grew up in the hood. So I had a stepfather, Herbert Rice, who raised me in the house in Compton, California. I would go see my dad on weekends in Rialto, California, and he raised me. And he was involved, and he was in my life, and everything was good. Child support paid up. Like, no crazy, like, hey, drama here, issues. Like, I had two fathers growing up, and I think one of the misconceptions is that we don't have fathers. One of my best friends, Charles, had his dad in his life. Other best friend, Kevin, had his dad in his life, right? Another friend of mine, Brian, had his dad in his life. So there were some friends who didn't have dads in their lives, but I think the misconception is that growing up in the hood that you see on television, you see certain videos, you see, okay, single moms. There are single moms raising their kids in impoverished communities in America. But I think overall the misconception is that everybody was raised by a single mom and that, hey, they're in the hood, it's kind of how it is. That wasn't the case for me at all. It wasn't the case for a lot of my friends who grew up in Compton, California. The second misconception I've seen is going to be that you most likely gang banged, right? You're part of a gang, right? Where were you from? Were you a Crip? Were you a Blood? And once again, yes, it's rampant in Compton, California, Los Angeles, man, Crips and Blood, Trey News, yeah, all these different Perus, all these different type of gangs, right? I knew a lot of guys who didn't gang bang, man. We went to school, we studied, we read our books, man. We played sports. Sports is a great distraction for kids in LA, in Los Angeles County. LA City sports is some of the best sports out there, from Dorsey High School to Crenshaw to Carson. There's great schools out there, right? So I think for me overall, I never gang banged. Grew up in Lantana Block, grew up Nutty Block, grew up around Track Nudes on Raymond Street, man. All these gangs, right? 155 over there, T-Flaps over in Long Beach, never gang bang. Rolling 20s, never gang bang. I just didn't have any interest for it, right? And so everyone from the hood is not a Crip or a Blood, right? Another misconception of growing up in the hood. A third one is that the hood is a bad environment. Don't get me wrong, now the hood can be a bad environment, but guess what? I'm extremely street smart, extremely street smart. One of my biggest problems that I have to my wife, my son CJ, Chris Hart Jr. Chris Hart Sr., different circumstances. Growing up in the hood, gang bangers around him, some violence here and there, not crazy, but things are happening. You just grow up in it. It's all you know, right? I'm street smart. I'm walking to school at 6 years old, 7 years old, 8 years old, 9 years old. I'm in the hood. I'm aware of my surroundings. There's loose dogs out, pit bulls, Rottweilers, right? You know the loose dogs. If you grew up in the hood, that's a problem. My son now is growing up in the suburbs. His dad's got a little money. I'm in a different tax bracket than my parents were. And so he's not growing up in the hood. One of the challenges I have with my son's how do I get him to be street smart? He's just not that street smart. In today's society, it's crazy what's happening in the news, the access we have to information. Like, you're terrified of your kids being out in the streets late at night. And so for me, growing up in the hood, that environment made me street smart. The fourth one is violence is rampant in the hood. Guys, like, I'll bring some stats up here, man, but I'll tell you right now, this violence is not that bad.
It's violence everywhere.
Violence in Iowa and Texas. The misconception is if you're watching Boys in the Hood, Men's in Society, right, certain movies, right, Crips and Blood, it's like, man, you walk down the street in LA, it's like, it's getting shot. It's not like that at all, man. We were in Compton, walking around. It's a peaceful environment. There's families there making a living for themselves. There's always bad apples in the bunch, whether you're in the suburbs or whether you're in the hood, right? It's always bad apples. So the hood is not necessarily a bad environment. If it's where you grow up, it's who you are, you're from it, guess what? People aren't messing with you because guess what? You're family. Met a guy, he comes out, he comes the hood Tarzan, right? He comes out, I'm on my old block, right? I'm there, I'm walking around, he's like, he sees me and Trey, right? He was like, hey, what's up, man? Who are y'all? I'm like, man, who are you? This is my neighborhood. I've been going for quite some time, but who are you? And we chop it up. We're talking, man. He's a hood Tarzan. A guy who grew up in the same block as me, did some things happen in life, did some time, man, served his time, justice was served, came out of prison. And in prison, guess what? Fell in love with animals. He read books on animals and wanted to save more animals. Now they call him the hood Tarzan. We actually saw a hawk. He had an injured hawk that he had on his wrist, right? I was a little worried, man, but the claws were kind of like wrapped up, man, because that thing was big, right? And now he wants to bring zoos and consciousness to the hood about how do we allow kids to understand that animals are a great part of God's creation on earth, and having access to those places. There is no zoo in Compton. There is no zoo in Compton. There is no place to go to see animals. He wants to bring that to that community, right? But again, violence is rampant, right? It's the hood, drive-bys, right? It's not that bad, man. And the last one, guys, it's hard to make it out. Like, man, it's tough, man. I grew up in my dad was this, mom was this. I hear that a lot. And don't get me wrong, I understand that circumstances are tough for people. It makes it harder. Obviously, my son, he just got more options, a better opportunity. My daughter Nala is set. She's got more options. There are some girls that grow up in communities where their options are very limited because of the decisions their mom and dad made. We had to make decisions for our life. Anyone can make it out of any environment. I don't care where. You could be growing up if mom and dad are wealthy, they're taking care of you. You can end up on Skid Row in Los Angeles because of the decisions you made. And so if you're watching this video right now, you're saying, man, Chris, I'm somebody who's from the hood. Chris, I'm watching this video, man, I'm from Compton, man. I'm from Long Beach. I'm from New Orleans, man, 5th Ward. I'm from the streets of Dade County, Miami. I'm from a tough community. You have the option to make choices. A gift from God to make choices and say, okay, cool. I made multiple choices that led me to the path I'm on now. I got some friends who made other choices to hang out with the wrong crowds a real too often, stay out a little later, maybe hit that lick, boom, get caught up, serve some time. I say, you know, it's not worth it, man. I got a bigger life to live. Life is bigger than this zip code, right? Life is much more to it. And I think for me, my mom and dad really exposed me to traveling and doing certain things at a younger age, allowed me to say, okay, there's more to life than just the hood and shooting hoops or on the corner or on the block. And so in conclusion, if you're saying, man, Chris, how do I get out the hood? How do I get out of my environment? Make the right choices. With that being said, man, if you got value from today's video, guys, do not forget to subscribe to the channel here and comment in the comment section below, guys. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram @SoldOutServant. Until next time, I'll see you soon.